Hey guys, Argent here with a reactionary review of 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers at Benghazi. Sorry I've been putting up more videos than I probably should lately, but there's been a lot of movies coming out. As I said when I posted my review of The Big Short, if I'm seeing a movie that's still in theaters, I want to get the reactionary review out as soon as possible. So if you want to go see it in theaters, you can go see it in theaters. I sometimes forget to move my scheduled content around. There's not really an easy way of doing that on YouTube. Like, there's not a calendar that shows what you're doing each day and you can't click and drag it, which would be a nice feature. So, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers at Benghazi. What did I think about the movie? I loved it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was as good as American Sniper. It was probably a better action movie than American Sniper. Um, was it as good a movie overall? I'm not really sure, to be honest. I was kind of surprised. Michael Bay, I kind of find is a hit or miss director. Um, he's made some good movies like Bad Boys 2, The Rock. I actually thought Transformers 3 Dark of the Moon was good, and he's made some real shit stoppers like Transformers 2. Oh, yeah, The Island was a good movie. I really liked The Island. So Michael Bay is kind of a mixed bag. He also made Pearl Harbor, which was shit. Um, he's really in his element when he's doing films like this, which are patriotic action movies. Rah rah America, let's go kick ass, let's go take names. I'm not sure if Michael Bay's a Republican or if he has to pretend to be a liberal because he works in Hollywood. Michael Bay is really patriotic, and there's something charming about how just kind of uncritically pro-America he is. And I really enjoyed that aspect of the movie. This movie was pretty right wing, and I, of course, being that this was reactionary reviews, really liked it. So, I think it shows his maturity as a director, um, and I think it shows that he's kind of learned to play to his strengths. I find Michael Bay is really good when he has someone with him who puts him on a leash. He's a pretty good director. He just really needs someone to say, "Look, stop being so self-indulgent. You can't do this. You can't get off track." And I think this film really shows that he had whoever it was putting a leash on him. So, 13 Hours: The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi is the story of six men. I'm not going to go through them because I found them hard to differentiate. The film tried its best, but I guess I've just seen so many movies. Unless a character really stands out, I just tend to forget about them. Um, but there's six guys who had to survive 13 hours of battle without any backup. Now, there's been some questions about the historical accuracy of this movie. Is it historically accurate? Is it not? I honestly don't really know. It could be a very accurate movie. It could not be. The problem is most of the people who say it's inaccurate are people I have no um, faith in trusting because they lie about all kinds of other stuff. They're the kind of people who claim that this whole thing was a demonstration against a spontaneous demonstration because of the uh, Innocence of Muslims movie. So this whole thing is very confusing, so let's try to go into detail about what happened. So the US has two bases in Benghazi at the start of the film. Oh, by the way, this is after the Libya Civil War. So the Libyan Civil War happened. Obama intervened to overthrow Gaddafi, but they really had no follow-up plan. In the aftermath, Libya just basically got divided between various militias who just fought basically over territory. The complete anarchy is very well presented in this movie, as throughout the film the Americans just keep coming across large bands of young men armed with AKs and rocket-propelled grenades. Some of them appear to be on their side, most of them are neutral, and some of them shoot at them. They literally will just go through the streets and there's guys with AKs everywhere. Sometimes there'll be large bands of people with AKs who will just walk by them, and they have to hold their fire. During the scene where they go to the consulate to try and rescue the ambassador, there's literally just people shooting at each other everywhere. And there's this like big fat guy in this white shirt, and one of the Americans is like, "Whose side is everybody on?" The guy goes, "I don't know," and then he just runs away. Um, and it's frankly like crazy. And the craziness of the film is reinforced with scenes like when they're going to the consulate. A guy's just calmly sitting watching the football game. The American football game when everyone is in the middle of a fight. When everyone's shooting each other. And later on, when they're back at the annex, a guy is just watching a soccer game. So that's kind of the level of just insanity that's going on. They also keep trying to pay Libyans to be security, but the Libyans always bolt at the first sign of trouble. Um, and then there's some Libyans who help them out, but the whole thing's just a fucking mess. People are just selling weapons to one another. The whole thing's crazy. So the U.S. has two bases in Benghazi. One is a diplomatic consulate, not an embassy, a diplomatic consulate that only had a couple guys guarding it. I think it was like I forget. I think it was 2 or 4 guys. It was a little confusing. Um, let's see here. So yeah, so two people were protecting the ambassador Chris Stevens, who was at this diplomatic consulate. So it has a wall, but it only had like 2 or 3 guys defending it against huge militias. However, Chris Stevens is a swipple, and he's like, "I'm here to win hearts and minds. The Libyan people love me. Nothing could possibly go wrong. We're here to build a better Libya." So he said all that, and he basically didn't really care that he had no security detail because he was a man of the people, and he was a swipple, and he thought, "I'm here to help them. There's no way that they'll kill me." But they do. There's also the CIA annex, which is about a mile away. And the CIA annex is a secret base that's obviously not secret, and it's a walled compound that they took over from some Libyan security official or something. And it has 6 operators there. 2 are ex-Navy SEALs. The others are, I think, ex-Marines. Um, or they're ex-Special Forces. So they have 6 ex-Special Forces holding the other compound, and they are not regular army troops. They're people who served in that, retired, and then were hired by the CIA to serve as basically a security detail. So the first half of the movie is really a slow burn. We just kind of see we build up the characters a bit. We see kind of daily life inside the compound. We see how crazy stuff is in Benghazi. It's pretty interesting. It's very restrained for Michael Bay. There's a lot of good chemistry between the guys. You just see kind of how crazy American soldiers are, and I mean that in a good way, especially the Special Forces guys. They frequently make quips and joke in the face of death. There's a part where one guy gets his hand basically blown off, and it's hanging on by literally a thread, and he just starts batting it and playing with it like a yo-yo. Um, and that guy's literally bleeding to death. He's like, "Give me a pistol, I gotta take some bastards down with me." And that guy manages to survive. But basically what happens is they have to fight with the CIA station chief. No one basically listens to them when they say that there's no security. So one night, September 11th, 2012, the diplomatic consulate comes under attack. The 6 Navy SEALs, or the 6 Special Forces guys, get in a car and ride to the aid of the ambassador. The ambassador manages to get in a safe room, but the basically the well, they're kind of like one of the groups who eventually formed ISIS. So we'll just call them the ISIS guys. Pour gasoline under the door, light it on fire, and kill him and a soldier through asphyxiation. So I mean that's pretty dark. The contractors managed to make it there, going through group after group of Libyans, some of whom are on their side, some of them are not on their side, some of them shoot at them, some of them don't. And they have to do crazy shit like blow up technicals, which are pickup trucks with 50 cals mounted in them, and they do that with a grenade launcher. Once they get there, most of the forces have retreated. They still get in a couple shootouts and they take a bunch of guys down. One thing I like about this movie is kind of the realism. People think that AKs and like auto rifles are like some sort of god mod where you just kind of fire and you can hit something. Indiscriminately hip firing a rifle doesn't work. If you have enough of it, it'll make people keep their heads down, but it's very hard to hit people, particularly getting killing shots, just indiscriminately firing a rifle. The U.S. Marines, with their like M4s, have optical sights. I think they're reflex sights, which tells you where the bullet's going to go, and they aim. And aiming with an auto rifle and firing in short bursts rather than spraying and praying, in an urban setting, it seems to work pretty well. So we really see in this film, and this is kind of how it works in real life, a bunch of Randys with auto rifles get creamed by people with better equipment and better training. Not breaking under fire and not panicking under fire is probably the most useful skill a soldier can have. Historically, most of the casualties in battles happen after one side breaks. So, and this movie, I think, really shows that. So they get to the annex. They have to fight off a bunch of guys. They manage to rescue someone. They get back in their armored vehicle. It's basically a armored car, and they start driving away. And by armored car, I don't mean like a APC. I mean like just a normal car that has armor. And they come under attack from about 50 or 60 militants who throw Molotov cocktails on their car and shoot it with machine guns. And we get this crazy scene of them driving at high speeds down a crowded street with everybody shooting at them. And we get like some scenes where they just like are firing out of the windows, taking guys down, cars crash, and somehow they manage to make it back to the annex, and they immediately begin fortifying it, getting all the... They actually have a lot of ammo, which is good, because if you have auto rifles and ammo, you can do a lot of damage. So they get there, and there's a bunch of buildings in the compound, so each one of them... so they split up into teams of 2, and they each take a building. They turn off all the lights, or most of the lights, and switch to night vision because they have night vision. So basically, the ISIS guys cannot see them. They're up on buildings. It's pitch black. They can't make them out. At the same time, though, they have night vision and infrared targeters, as well as reflex sights. So they can see perfectly well in the dark, and once the wave after wave of guys start coming, all they can really do is just run at them and fire indiscriminately against guys who are behind a wall, up on a building, behind a wall on the building, who have night vision. They basically get creamed. We then see the CIA attempting to call in support, but they refuse to send backup because it would violate Libya's sovereignty. There's a number of rapid response groups who don't come. There's also a number of airplanes that they refuse to send in. There's a drone they send in at one point, which they don't give the intelligence to the CIA that the drone collects, and they don't use the Hellfire missiles on the drone. There's particularly a part where the militants try to bring in a bus full of high explosives, where one Hellfire missile would be very helpful. So, we see the 6 guys hold off about 200 ISIS. So the first wave just comes in, they have a couple RPGs, but the guys succeed in killing about 30 of the militants and driving them off. The second wave, we also see how ineffective RPGs are in this, especially when people have no idea what the fuck they're doing use them. A lot of times the RPGs bounce off and don't explode immediately, and they're extremely inaccurate. I mean, they're still scary weapons, but they're often kind of sound and fury, but signifying nothing. So they attack the compound for the first time, and they all just kind of fire their AKs, and they get mowed down. I think one of them has a light machine gun, and that's very effective. But you see just the discipline, etc. They're still cracking jokes. They're still like doing buddy stuff throughout the battle. So they beat off the first wave pretty easily. Next time, ISIS comes with a bus that is full of high explosives. It's a massive car bomb. And as they all pile out of the bus, the Marines switch their fire, and using the light machine gun and I think some tracer rounds, it's kind of a bit confusing. They blow up the bus and take out most of the second wave, and kill the rest of the guys as they're retreating. We then get a third wave just before dawn, in which they use all their remaining troops as well as mortars to attack. The mortars succeed in killing two of the guys, but the remainder succeed in beating off the last wave, massacring them. Meanwhile, we have limited reinforcements that come in, which are basically, I think, two Delta Force guys and a couple more CIA guys, who have to basically commandeer a jet and bribe Libyan officials to get there. They aren't enough to really help, and they don't really play much of a role in the movie. After they've beaten off the third wave, though, they've succeeded in bribing the right people, and the Libyan army manages to show up and get them out to the airport. Two of them died, and the U.S. government finally takes an interest because Chris Stevens is dead, and they have to get his body out of there. So they managed to, the surviving guys succeed in getting on an airplane that's carrying the body of Chris Stevens and get out that way. Um, so they succeed in killing a couple hundred of the people, but really a lot of it is just the complete pointlessness of the whole Libyan campaign. The guys frequently say, we have no idea why the fuck we're here, we have no idea what we're fighting for. This thing is just a complete waste of time. It's just kind of completely pointless, it's completely just bullshit. And that's kind of the perspective a lot of this movie is, that the whole Libyan campaign makes no sense, that the people who were supposed to support them refused to provide them any aid for political purposes, in part because they had gone out and claimed, Hillary had gone out and claimed that this was a spontaneous demonstration and not an attack, and to toe that party line, they didn't give them support. We see a scene of them begging them to send in Raptors for air support, and eventually they lower it and they say, look, could you just send them in and fly over the city just to show that we have air support, because it'll scare them and it'll buy us a couple hours. And then it cuts to a scene of the Raptors sitting fueled, just like there, but with no pilots even near them, and they don't even really try to send in anything to help them. They beg for a gunship, they beg for any sort of air support, but the American army, because part of the narrative is that they freed Libya, they don't have anything on standby, and the soldiers are basically left to die. So they succeed in getting out. I believe that they receive medals, and one of them went on to write the book about Benghazi, which was used to make this movie. So why was this a good movie? It was very well shot. There was lots of kind of neat action scenes. I think it kind of realistically shows, within the context of an action movie, what modern warfare looks like. I think it shows the superiority of special forces over normal troops. I really like the camaraderie, and I like the badassness of just being indifferent in the face of death. They frequently are just kind of, it's pretty obvious that they're going to die, but they just say, we're just going to do our duty, we're just going to hold. One of the guys says, I have a belief that so long as I keep doing my duty, that I'll make out of this alive somehow. That God will get me out of this if I just keep doing the right thing. Which I think is an interesting perspective, and there are religious overtones to most of this movie. There's also patriotic undertones very strongly. Like there's a scene where there's an American flag, and the insurgents just shoot it. But there's a general sense of confusion as to why they're even there, and the backstabbing nature of the Libyans is shown. After the whole movie of, because I remember in the media when Chris Stevens died, hundreds of thousands of Libyans took to the streets and were like, oh, we're so sad that Chris Stevens died. He was the greatest guy ever. So that stuff happened. But what also happened at the same time was, throughout this movie, you had all these people constantly switching sides. You had all these people who were basically, yeah, they were switching sides. They were getting bribed, etc. And it really comes across that the whole Chris Stevens uh, grief at his death was just something that was engineered for the cameras to get more USAID money and to get the US to invest further, and something that really has nothing to do with anything. It was just them trying to get more shit from the U.S. and to get the U.S. to waste more money and troops to fight this war. I find it funny that the U.S. they mention in this one that they can't provide proper security to save money, when sending a couple more Marines would cost them virtually nothing, and even if they had have had 20 guys, this might have gone a lot better. Particularly if they had some heavy weapons, maybe a couple like 50 cals, maybe an armored personnel carrier or two, even just some air support, and this whole thing would have gone a lot better. But they were completely unwilling to do that because of the fear of putting boots on the ground. I think it really shows how crippled and frankly dildo America has become. Also, just how incoherent things are these days. Um, I think it's a very effective movie that exposes the flaws of modern American policy, Obama, and to a certain extent the American public's schizophrenic attitudes in a post-Iraq world. I give this movie a 9 out of 10. I highly recommend this film. Go see it. It should be in theaters for a while longer. It just came out Friday. This is Argent signing out.